اليوم حبيت أعزمكم على الجلسة مع سارة اللي هي لاجئة سورية صار لها 2 سنين هون بأمريكا وعمرها 18 سنة وهلأ تخرجت من الهاي سكول ودخلت بجامعة كتير متفوقة. أهلا وسهلا بكم وأهلا وسهلا بسارة.
أهلا وسهلا. Thank you for inviting me.
سارة I am so honored. عن جد أنا مبسوطة فيكي كتير والمجتمع اللي موجود هون كلهم فخورين فيكي.
شكرا.
الله يخليكي لأهلك ودائما يشوفوكي بالنجاح and كلياتنا فرحانين فيكي لأنه نحن بحاجة لنسمع قصص السوريين اللي هن عم بيفوزوا وعم بيجتازوا أصعب مراحل. please من فضلك اليوم كوني صريحة. طالعي من قلبك الأصعب مراحل اللي انتي اجتزتيها مشان الجمهور مشان المشاركين إنه كمان هن يحسوا إنه you know what Sara did it. I can do it.
Yes.
Okay.
Of course.
أول شيء دائما بحب رجع الشخص لأحلى ذكرى بسوريا.
Okay.
أعزميني وين بدك تاخديني لسوريا؟
اوكي اذا انا بدي اخذك لسوريا بما انه انا من حلب فرح اخذك على حلب. في هنيك مطعم او سوري هو محل ايس كريم يعني
اوكي
اسمه العطار.
اها
صراحه هذا المحل انا ما لقيت مثله باي مكان يعني انا كنت بسوريا بعدين رحت على مصر بعدين مشيت لهون. عنده نكهه ايس كريم اسمها هواي. هي ما لها علاقه بهواي ابدا هي عباره عن بس فستق حلبي بيحط مع شوكولا. فانت هون فيك تشتري اللي هي بيستاشيو ايس كريم وجربيه بس طعمتها ما لها علاقة أبداً. حتى مثلاً منت شوكولات لأنه لونه قريب بس كمان ما لها علاقة أبداً. أكثر شيء بتذكره هنيك إنه نحن كنا نروح كتير لهنيك تقريباً كل أسبوع كل ويكند وكان يعني أهلي ياخذونا وكنا ناكل آيس كريم فهذا كان شيء كتير بحبه يعني وإن شاء الله شي يوم بقدر ممكن أشوف العطار فتح بمحل تاني أو إني أنا أرجع لحتى أروح أدوق الآيس كريم تبعيته.
والفستق الحلبي فستق حلبي. أكيد يعني هذا يعني نموذج الفولكلور تبع حلب.
نعم.
you know okay كيف كانت جيتك لأمريكا يعني what happened?
Just FYI it's been my dream to always come here at some point.
Wow.
And that's how I wanted to learn English because I was like at some point I will go to America and I will leave. I knew. But I mean, there'll be a plot twist that I'll tell you about later.
Okay.
And so, when I was very little, I couldn't.
I'm blown away by your English.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I do hear that a lot. But then I'll tell you like how I really learned. It's a process. So when I was little, I would watch Lazy Town. Good thing it's subtitled, but I was very little. I couldn't even read. And then as I was growing up.
But you were listening to the sounds and the intonations.
Yes. Yeah. And then as I grew up and learned how to read and write, I would watch shows like they're from Disney Channel. I mean, the Arabic channels would buy these TV shows, but they won't show it until a couple years after they're actually on Disney. So I grew up watching these shows, and I would make sense. Now that I can read, I would make sense of the word, how it's said, and then what it means.
Wow.
And then basically that's how I just continued to learn my English. To the point where everyone at Syria or Egypt when I moved was amazed by my English. But then I came here and then that was not really so special anymore because everyone knows how to speak English and everyone speaks the same.
Right.
So I was like, oh well, now I need to find something else to stand out. I was prepared. It's definitely an advantage because, my family came here with me and they also would watch the Hollywood movies, action movies whatsoever, but their English is not as good as mine, I would say. So they did struggle a lot, but for me, it was like a smoother of a transition. Definitely,
Don't you feel that language is the biggest gift?
Yes, for sure.
Honestly,
for sure.
It's just the key to everything.
It is.
I started teaching myself French just in this last year.
Wow.
And what I did is I just made a playlist on YouTube of my favorite French songs. I would go to lyricstranslate.com.
Okay.
And the lyrics would be translated in any language from French to Arabic, French to English, French to Spanish. And I got a really beautiful journal and I wrote the lyrics in English and in French, but each one was blue ink, red ink, blue ink, red ink. So each sentence was separated. So I really studied those. And in my car, you don't want to ride in the car with me because every time I'm singing my French songs all the time. And in 1 year, I was able to really elevate to intermediate level.
Wow.
So لكل المشاهدين السوريين هي تجربة وأنا تجربة إنه الواحد ممكن إذا بده يتعلم اللغة بدون
أكيد.
مدرسة بدون كتب بدون صفوف الواحد بيقدر يساوي like you can teach yourself. The tools are available. You had Disney Channel. I have YouTube. You know, and it's easy. And you know that's what I want the Syrians to do because once you get the language, الدنيا مفتوح. Like the world is open. So I'm so proud of you. That's number one key. Good job, girl.
Thank you. So when I was 12 years old, and that's when like the war started breaking out in Aleppo because I mean it was in like other it was in other places but not really my area. But then when it started at my area, I remember it was this like it's a one memorable night. It was really nighttime. Me and my family were just like watching a movie because you know we had like no electricity. So when we had electricity, we would just like benefit from it. So we were just like chilling, watching a movie. So my family consists of 4 people: me and my brother, my mom and dad are a small family. My brother was like he slept halfway through the movie, and we were like, okay, we're just gonna watch it until you know the electricity cuts off. And then yeah, the electricity did cut off at some point, and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna get ready and go to bed. So I was just getting ready. I went to say goodnight to my parents, and then I heard this really loud noise. And my brother just woke up, and he was really startled. And I was like, "What's going on?" I really didn't know what that was.
So you're 12. He's how old?
He was 10.
Okay.
He was 10. And so I like at first I froze. I was like freaking out, and then I heard that voice again, and then I was like, oh my God. And then, so that, what I figured out later, that was the sound of the rockets that were passing over our building. And then we were so freaked out. Then like me and my family had to sit like in the hallway together. And we were really, really scared at that moment. I do remember that my number one wish was for the building not to fall because I was like, if it fall, I want to die. I don't want to live with like a missing limb. Or you know, like a missing family member. It's rather like we all die or we all live together.
Wow.
And so that
you
moment,
were that conscious of that moment that this is it.
Yes, I was certain like you know this is going to be the end, really.
Wow.
But then it was not the end, but it brought about the end to my life. And by that I mean 1 week later after that happened, my brother was hospitalized with no proper diagnosis. No one knew what was going on with him.
1 week later.
Yes.
Subhanallah, yani, like the stress is so shocking and traumatic to the body.
And so, you know, after hospitalizing him for like 1 week, and then they're like, you know, we'll just send you home because we don't know what's going on with you, but like they have other priorities, like other patients they need to take care of. Yes. So I went back home and I thought, you know, he'll be fine. It's okay if they still don't know the diagnosis of it, he'll get better. And maybe it's not really that serious. And then he went to bed. His bed, we had like beds that are really next to each other. So as I was lying on my bed, I heard something shaking. And I was like, what's that? And then I looked to see my brother shaking. And that's at that moment I was like, my brother is dying. Because I kept on, like, I slapped him. I tried to shake him to wake him up. But then there was no response. And, oh well, I'm getting emotional. And then I had to call my parents.
It's okay. It's okay.
I had to wake them up because I was like, oh my gosh, my only brother is dying. And then there's this moment where, okay, they had to rush him to the hospital. And then on the way to the hospital, so they had to use the car to go there, right? The hospital is really close. It's like 15 minutes by car. However, because it was like wartime and there was like a curfew where like you can't leave your home after 6 p.m. It was like midnight. So they would get like shot at the car. And people would stop them and would say, where are you going? And you know, my parents had to explain the situation that, hey, my son is sick. And, you know.
Was he going through sepsis?
Yes. Yeah. And so by the time he arrived at the hospital, they figured out this happened because of kidney failure, which really causes his electrolytes to be off. And that, you know, caused all of that to happen.
Yeah.
And then at first we were trying really hard not to put him on dialysis. Oh, thank you. We thought, you know, kidney failure because...
I should know better because every interview I cry.
I mean, I came here and I was like, no, I'm not going to cry. Like, I know I'm not going to cry.
I should know better. I should always have one next to me. Sorry. Okay.
And then...
So got to the hospital. And
Yes, they at that time they properly diagnosed him. Oh, it's kidney failure. But at first they were like, we don't need to rush and put him on dialysis. Let's try if he did the diet, and we take care of, because diet really affects your kidney, and if we did well on that, then he would be fine. But that never worked, and he had to be put on dialysis. And then that's when you see like how war really affects everything, because
the physical trauma.
And then the hospitals, they had no medical supplies. So I was like, really, if you really, I'm not sure how familiar you are with kidney failure, but...
Oh, my grandmother died from it.
Oh, you see, so it's really serious. I'm so sorry, but you see how serious it is.
Yeah.
And
No,
dialysis...
like what you're saying really is affecting me because my grandmother died from it.
Okay, so now you know. And then dialysis is the only way for you to live, not just be healthy, but live. And so when there were no medical supplies, we were like, okay, if he's not going to have dialysis, he's gonna die. So we had to flee to Egypt, and the journey there. Okay, so I'll talk about the journey. Okay. So we were in Aleppo, and then the airport was closed at that time, so we had to get a smuggler to sneak us into Turkey. And then that journey was really...
Will you ever forget that smuggler's face?
No.
No.
It was, because you hear a lot of stories, like, you never know who you're actually with.
Yeah.
You never know, are you going to get kidnapped, or is he really just doing the job? Right.
Yeah.
So it was I was very, very scared the whole time. I was like, oh my God.
At 12, you really were that conscious?
I was. I would definitely thank the war for that, because honestly, if that never happened...
Wait, did you say thank the war?
Yes.
For that?
Of course. Even though we might
intense.
think, oh, it ruined me, but actually, it just brought me to be more conscious. And now,
Goosebumps.
I now, compared to a lot of people my age right now, I do notice that I'm more conscious, maybe more mature. Yes, than they are. So, yeah, I thank the war for that, even though it really ruined my life, but I do have to thank it for that. And so, after this really stressful, I would call it journey to Turkey, we stayed there for like 3 days. Then using the Turkish airport, we moved to Egypt, where my aunt was actually there. So it was not really too much of a trauma for us, or like a culture shock, because my aunt was there.
Right.
And
it's an Arabic culture, and it's Muslim nature, so it was an easy transition.
Absolutely. Yeah. Everyone was really welcoming, and so that was really good. And then my brother was able to get the treatments that he wanted, so that was really nice.
Right.
I had time to go to school, because in Syria, I studied until like 6th grade, and then I stopped because schools were shut down during the war.
Wow.
And so when I moved to Egypt, I had to skip 7th grade because that was already, I wasted a year. So I just started 8th grade and I started moving up. And
did you do like independent studying on your own?
Of course.
Good girl.
So, you just actually reminded me of something. So everyone in Egypt, it's like a thing. They go to school, but they also have to have private teachers. Like, they have to have it. Yeah. For me, I never had one. And my friends were like, are you okay? Are you even normal? How do you do that?
Right.
But for me, I was like, that's just the way I am. That's how I used to.
So you're an independent thinker.
Yes.
Good girl.
And then really it's just for me, because I longed for, education so much that, when I got into school, like, I turned myself into like an academic robot. I would like feed myself on books.
Nerds
I would study. I would like, 24/7, I would have to study. And then my cousins would like make fun of me, like, Sarah, you're studying all the time. You're such a nerd.
Nerds run the world, girl.
Right.
Yeah.
But that really paid off. But then after 4 years, Egypt also had this crisis. Every Egyptian would know it, where only dialysis supplies were no longer available. Sometimes companies would like hide them to like sell them for a higher price.
Right.
But even that was gone. And we were like, okay, we're risking his life again. We can't really stay here. And so that's when we really had to move here.
Okay.
And start all over, starting from scratch. My dream to come here, as I said, it's always been a dream for me to be here.
Be careful what you wish for.
Right?
It so comes true. The universe opens up in the weirdest way.
Okay. So when I really, in my head, I wanted to come here and I wanted to live like the American dream. whatever I see, like Hollywood movies or as I said, Disney channels. I really thought life was like this, but it's not. It's really not. So, you know, if you're someone that watches Disney Channel at home and you're like, oh, I want to go to America to live there, that's really not true.
Yeah, the sweet life.
Yeah. Here, really, life is very fast-paced. Honestly, I can't even keep track of time. Everything goes so fast.
That is so true. Like when I used to go back to Syria and visit, it was like time was like asal, molasses, so long and so sweet. And then I come back here and it's ما في رحمة.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So you came here and then you started over and you settled in California.
Correct, yes.
Right. Okay. What was the biggest culture shock?
Well, for me, I didn't experience that much of a culture shock just because, like, I knew what I was getting myself into ever since I was little. There was just these, like, I would say different, maybe manners. Or like, okay, I'll give you an example. Like in Syria, when you're talking to an elder, you don't look them in the eye. You look down. Here, you have to look everyone in the eye.
Right.
And like when you shake your hand, you have to be firm and you need to, you know, look them in the eye. In Syria, we never really do that. It's like we have different, I would say, definitions of respect. So at first, it was hard for me to get adjusted to because they don't really show that on like Hollywood movies or anything that you watch. You don't really see that.
These are the subtle cultural nuances.
Yes. So, you know, by now, I'm you know, like I'm getting used to them. And I'm sure there's like a lot more that I don't know of, but I will learn.
Right.
And yes.
There's actually a story that I know of a Spanish girl where she was accused of something in her school.
Okay.
The principal came, brought her, questioned her. Because she was always looking down at his feet, he assumed she was guilty.
Right.
Because she didn't look him in the eyes with confidence.
Yeah.
That to him was the body language of guilt.
Correct.
Where she was showing him the ultimate of respect. So the Spanish culture and the Arabic culture do have a lot of similarities as well.
Yes.
And, you know, she was innocent, but her body language, according to her culture, was giving her away as guilty.
I actually read a book about body languages, and in the book, it really stated how it's really different from a country to another. So you really need to be careful because sometimes what's really good in one country can actually like work against you in another country.
Right.
So yeah, that's really fascinating. That's what you get from traveling the world.
Yes, and you know, it's funny because you know, in America, you would never think of eating soup and making sounds.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And yet we travel to China and to Hong Kong and whatever, and there, the louder you are,
the better it is. Yeah.
when you're, you know, slurping the soup, the more you are telling the chef or the cook, your soup is great.
Good job. Yeah. Yes.
So yeah, so these little nuances are amazing, and that's what this program is for, you know, so that we all kind of analyze and compare notes regarding our cultures and things like that. Okay, so you are a true academic nerd. Okay, you are like you're my daughter. I feel like, you know, I've lost you, so I want to adopt her. Okay, so how did you adjust to the academic levels here in the United States? What was that like for you?
So, in comparison to what I really learned in Egypt. I mean, you know, it was really funny for me, like studying in 3 different countries, like learning 3 different histories. Wow, it's really just amazing for me because every country sees, let's say, like one event and so many new, like different perspectives. So that was like, wow, shocking to me.
I love that.
The thing is, like when I first got here, the educational system is way different and the way you're taught things is really different. Here you have more space to be more creative, I would say. So it's not just all tests. You have, you know, presentations, or sometimes you do TED Talks or speeches in your classes. But for me at first, I was like, what do I do? What's this? I didn't even know how to like navigate Google Docs, which is really like all what students use here. I was like, what do I do? I've never really used technology to, you know, just enrich my education. It was all just books. But here it's really different. So I mean, I had to learn. I mean, of course, it's like trial and error because at first I was like messing up a lot, but then I was asking and I was learning, and that happened.
And you were not shy to ask questions.
I mean, at first I was, but then I was like, okay, Sarah, if you're gonna be like this, then guess what? No one's gonna get a good grade. So, you know, I had to break that, and I had to, you know, just actually like come out and ask people like, hey, could you please help me with this? Hey, I really don't know
You had
this.
to break that.
Of course.
So that was another inner challenge that you had to overcome.
Because coming here, I mean, my school especially, when I joined school, it was like the last quarter of sophomore year. So it's really hard to blend in when you come at the end of the year, and you know everyone they already know each other. So for me, I was like, well, or like, oh, I started thinking like, oh, now I'm gonna sound stupid, you know, and I really hated that because I'm like that type of girl, like I want to be number one. So when I'm not number one, I'm like, well, you know, like they're gonna make fun of me, blah blah. But then I was like, you just have to. I mean, if you're not gonna ask and like be shy or embarrassed, even get embarrassed, you're never gonna be at the top. So
right, they
it's a
actually
process.
say that the reason girls don't perform as well in mathematics and science is because they're too embarrassed in the classroom to ask questions. And so when that element is taken out, the girls thrive in mathematics and science and actually do better than boys because they're not embarrassed.
Yes.
So there's kind of that bullying element there that is always difficult. Okay, so so then you were able to excel.
Yes.
And this is why I invited you, because here in the community, you're already getting, Sarah's a superstar. So tell us, like, how did you do what you did? You just graduated.
Well, for me, I mean, coming here, compared to like everyone else that came here, I had like an extra challenge for me, which is my brother's case, his illness. So, I mean, my teachers are shocked. My principals are shocked because I had to miss so much school.
Oh,
and I was still able to remain at the top of my school.
Did you become like a liaison, like a patient advocate for your brother?
Definitely.
I relate to that.
So I would always, and this is what I get from like my friends who would just really not understand me or like understand our culture. For me, I do it out of duty. Like, this is my family. I have to be with them. I have to take care of them. For them, my American friends, they're like, no, you don't have to do that. Like, you're missing school. You're harming yourself. So, when they would see like I would get good grades and everything, they're like, how do you do that? Because like, they're like, I can never do that. I'm like, well, if you set your priorities right, then you can do everything. So for me, education was really important, but family still was on the top of that.
That is wonderful. So that means your parents really held on to that such close-knit family tie that, it's sad. Like, I wish the American culture could really experience that.
Yeah.
That level of like, duty bound.
Right.
See.
Are you gonna cry again? I'm sorry.
Yes.
So
I love that. And like, and I say, if all of our cultures can learn from each other, like if we Syrians can help Americans in the West develop that and see like, no, this is my priority. My brother, my family is still my priority. And I'm not going to sacrifice my education. I'm going to do both.
Yes, exactly. You can do both.
You're a living example of family and holding on to that. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you even more for that.
Inshallah.
Okay.
And so, like these times, I would say this year alone, I'd missed like in total more than 2 to 3 months of just school days.
Oh my God, goosebumps.
It's really shocking, but I had to be in the hospital. And when I had to be with my brother, he would feel guilty, like, Sarah, I'm sorry, I'm doing this for you. I'm like, no, you're not. I have my books. When you go to bed, I study.
Stop, I can't.
I'm sorry.
This is so...
So I would...
You're my hero.
Oh my God! Like look at like a 50-year-old tells an 18-year-old like.
Did you have to say 50?
Sorry.
It's okay.
Age is just a number, but just saying. Like, I'm 18, and so
I can picture you there.
Really.
And what you just said is something beautiful. That while you're in the room with him at the hospital, keeping him company, being happy and all of that. In Arabic, there's this word. It's mennin.
It's mennin. Yes.
Like you kind of hold it over somebody's head. Like, yeah, I'm here for you. I'm missing my school, but I'm here for you. That kind of erases the niyyah, the power of intention.
Yes.
You're doing it out of goodness.
Yes.
but you're not holding it over his head. In fact, you're going in the humble route of like, no, don't worry, I'm good. You know, it's all about you.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful.
Thank
That's
you.
a double superpower.
Thank you. Wow.
No, you need to know. You need to know, like, you know, what you've done in this short period of time so that, you know, that's going to build more confidence for you that, like, yeah, I'm Sara.
Yeah. I mean, at first, so, you know, when it was like college season time, like when we apply as seniors, I was so scared. I was like, because a lot of the things that I took in Egypt they didn't give me credit for here.
Ooh.
So I had to like take an extra class, you know, do summer courses because I was like, there's no way that I'm not going to graduate on time. Like I'll graduate and like I should finish by the time I should be finishing. Because other people who come from different countries either cannot graduate or will have to take like an extra year.
Right.
And I mean, it would be my nightmare.
So you were literally handicapped.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you literally chunks of it was taken out. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, you had to accelerate and take more classes and double up.
Yeah. I did it. I mean, I did it, right? You really have to challenge yourself, right? It's all about challenges because everyone has great potential, but they may not really be aware of that unless they challenge themselves.
Say it again.
Everyone has great potential, but they might not be aware of it unless they challenge themselves. You know what I mean?
I do.
Okay. So really, if you don't trust in yourself, no one else will. So if you're like, I can do this, I know I will, then you will do it. If you're like, well, I'm not sure if I can do it, and like other people are really smarter than me, then this is not gonna work. Like, of course, I had these times, like, because my high school, they're the real nerds. They are amazing. Like, our high school ranked really, really high on the California level and like nationwide. Mm-hmm. So that will give you like an idea of how everyone is very academic focused. So for me at first, I was like, I would tell my parents, I was like, Mom, Dad, I'm scared. Like, they're all really smart. And, you know, they have this advantage of just being here their whole life. So they know how the system works.
How did your parents reply?
Their parents replied, Sara, we believe in you and we know that you will be better.
Nice.
And I was like, okay. And then, you know, so I just did my best basically. And then one time I didn't really know that there was this thing called honor roll. And then a teacher was just talking to me and was like, oh my gosh, Sara, you're on the honor roll. And I was like, what? So I really didn't know. And that is really basic. I mean, for my school.
That's the equivalent in Syria لما بنقول إنه بنتي طلعت الأولية.
Yeah, something like that. Yes. So I was like, oh my gosh, like there were a lot. I mean, because my school, everyone is really smart. So there were a lot of people on it.
Right.
But I was still there, like one of the highest GPAs. So I was like, oh my God. And, you know, so I know
Did
like.
it sneak up on you? You didn't expect it?
I did not. I was just doing my best. I was like, you know, I'll just do my best. So I did what I did.
So you actually made it academically. It snuck up on you where your GPA is right up there, your ranking, and you were there for your brother. And then what happened with your brother?
I mean, it would be the best gift of 2019. I mean, so the thing is, in 2018, my brother would pray to get a new kidney in that year. So, if someone that's really not aware of how kidney transplants work here, so basically, if you're a kidney failure patient, you get if your like body is fully ready for a transplant, you get put on a wait list. Just, you know, in case like there's a donor, and you know, if there's a donor and there are people on the list, it depends on like where your number is at the list and like how they test compatibility with blood and everything. And if it's a match, then you get the kidney. So they also take in consideration the years that you've had kidney failure. So for my brother, it was like at that time, it was like 5 years, but then they couldn't count that. They have to count the year that you've been in the States. So it started counting, yes, all this 5 years they were gone. They're like, well, this is just how the legal system works here. So they counted him as like, it's his first year of kidney failure, when it's really not. So we were like, oh my God, it's gonna take a really long time for him to stay on the list and like be on there. But then he would always pray like, you know, I hope to get a kidney. And then he would pray that it would not be my mom's kidney because my mom is able to give him the kidney. And so the compatibility test showed that my brother had these, I would say, they're like antibodies that came to him from like the many blood transfusions that he has had in Egypt. So that added like another obstacle to him. Oh my God. So the chance of him getting the kidney was like 10%. He would reject 90% of the population and accept just 10% of them. Because of, like all the blood transfusions he's had, they're other people's blood. So now it just made it hard for him. It's a lot of antibodies, as I said, that really developed in him. So they had to do treatments, and they were like, we're just going to do our best. And then, as I said, his prayers were to get the kidney before 2018 ends. So December 30th of 2018.
Goosebumps. This is my third goosebumps round, girl.
He got the kidney, and I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
So he's he's my only brother, so I love him so much. But, when it's just, he's very fortunate, I would say. Whenever, like, he prays for something or, like, he wants something, he actually gets it. So it was a kidney. And we were told that it was a kidney, like, in a very good condition. So it was perfect for him.
Yeah.
And it was not my mom. Yeah. So that was amazing. I started 2019 very happy and very strong.
Alhamdulillah.
And then it was time for schools, like the universities that I applied to get back to me.
Right.
So I applied to 15 schools just because I was like, you know what, at least if I got into 2 or 4, I'm good. But then I got into 11 of them.
MashaAllah, great.
Thank you.
Wow.
I was really shocked. I was like, maybe this is a miracle. I couldn't believe it. And I was like, oh, is this a mistake? And they're like, no, like, academically.
You're so humble. You're so cute.
Oh, thank you.
Wow.
Then I was really, really happy. But then, I had to make the decision of like which school to go to.
Right. And you decided on?
UC Irvine.
Nice. They have a fantastic biochemical, pre-med system.
Yeah.
And
that's like my major, so it'll be really good for
You've
me.
already done a residency for medical school.
Technically,
You've already done a residency. Honestly, urology and, you're already there. Don't underestimate the fact that you've already done so much. I've spent a lot of time in hospitals, again, with family situations and whatever. I love being a patient advocate for someone I love. Where, you're watching, the vitals and the situations and you're like, nurse, excuse me.
Yeah,
nurse.
I always do that. And I'll be like, well, I'm really sorry if I'm bugging you, but I got to make sure, the nurses have like more than one patient.
Right.
So I'm like, well, even if you do your best to take care of him, it's like he's my priority. I want to make sure that you're doing the right thing for him.
Did your parents actually develop this level of trust and dependence on you that
Definitely.
That you know everything? Like, Sara, ask them this.
Yes,
do this.
absolutely. My parents are like, they really can't go anywhere without me because, I do all the talking. I do everything. They know, like, they trust me. Like, I will make the right decision. There are a lot of families, they're like, I really love my daughter, but I can't really trust her with this.
Right.
Like, I don't know. But my family, as you said, they really developed this trust in me.
This is amazing. Again, this is, thanks to the war.
Yes, thanks to the war.
I love that optimism. My nose is dripping. I'm getting goosebumps. Like, you're messing me up, Sara.
I'm sorry.
So, I'm so excited for you. Like, the world is in front of you. You deserve this. Do you feel that? Do you know you truly deserve this?
I worked hard, so yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good.
But I know, if I didn't have, I would say, I wouldn't call them obstacles, but like I didn't have these blessings that they really just made me to be more self-aware and to be a better person. But if I didn't have them, I would probably be somewhere else. So I'm really glad that everything happened to me. But if we really looked at them as not blessings, but obstacles, which I really don't, but if we were to look at them that way, and if I didn't have them, I know by now I would probably be at a better place, which I'm really satisfied with where I am right now, but I know my potential.
I don't think the world can handle a Sara beyond this. Take it easy.
I like to rush things,
So let the world adjust to this Sara superstar, okay? Calm down, girl. Calm down. All right. So I want a commitment from you that, maybe in the next 3-4 years, we can stay in contact, and then, we could just keep feeling this level of optimism from you, and you can share the love with others as well, because you've got so much to offer.
Thank you. Okay.
So I wanted to ask you.
Okay.
What is the key to success?
Perseverance.
Oof.
For sure. That's how I would say it, determination and perseverance. Yeah.
Nice. Sarah, thank you so much for coming today and sharing
Thank you
your
for having
story.
me. Thank you for having me.
I'm in love. Truly, you are our hope. So you are the example of a young Syrian model woman. And you know, at some point we're going to stop saying refugee because you are a Syrian survivor. You've overcome so much. And I'm going to cut now before I cry. Thank you. Salam alaikum.
I'm so sorry. She cries so much. Oh my God.